15 years ago, a piece of technology won from the ruling world championship, undisputed world champion of chess, Garry Kasparov. 15 years ago, but we all know that wasn't really about chess. That was actually about the first time that a machine was able to see the consequences of its decisions and alter those decisions, see the consequences of the moves it makes. Now let's be honest, there's nothing really human about playing to a chess computer, right? Everybody of us has tried it. This is a really boring experience. Frustrating, and if you're my kid brother, you have thrown it out of the window after 4 times you lose from it. 15 years later, we play Jeopardy. We play an American game show where you get the answer and you have to guess the questions, and there's millions of categories. We didn't just play it to 2 humans. In the 40 years this game show existed, we played to one gentleman that for 74 times subsequent had won it, and to the other gentleman that had won most money in an American game show ever. Now, why is this so difficult, right? Because I hear you say, so you have a list with questions, you have a list with answers, that's it. No, that's not it. It's impossible to make a list with all the questions in the world and all the answers. That's the first, because this, let's go to language for a second, right? When you talk to your partner or your child, how many times do you have that conversation of, I know that's what I said, but that's not what I meant, or when your mother tells you, yeah, that's not what I said, but that's actually what I meant. And those kind of conversations are already hard. And if we would have made a computer, if we made a piece of technology that had all the words and all the questions in it and the answer, like a search engine has all the words I search for and all the web pages that have that word, that wouldn't be exciting. That would actually be rather stupid, because you already have humans who know the answer to those questions. Now, what we wanted to have a piece of technology that would find combination, that would read all the libraries in the world, that would read at 200 million pages a second, book pages a second, 200 million a second, from all kind of different sources, and then come up with combinations that you and I wouldn't have looked to, would have overseen, wouldn't care for. And yes, a lot of outcomes would be silly, but a few of them, it would have the confidence that this was breakthrough. Now, again, why is this so interesting? In my preparation for today, and I was honored to be here at TEDx, I Googled TEDxFlanders, and this is what I got. Now, the first is, there were 23 million references and hits. This is a really popular event, so I don't know how you got the tickets, but it's really popular. The second is, for those of you who went for the first hit and bought a ticket to be here, TEDxFlanders is a character in the American cartoon series The Simpsons. If you expect cartoons here today, this is not your seminar. The third is, there's a lot of references. Now, the average teenager clicks on the first link and doesn't even look to the next pages. So, let me explain why language is really difficult when you go and search. One of these days, I go to my search engine and I have 2 options. Do I want to search, or do I want their recommendation and feel lucky? You know what? I look for Hilton Paris and I feel lucky. Okay, this was a little bit too much lucky. Actually, what I really wanted is to go to a romantic getaway in the capital of France. So again, I start Googling, and I need to do some business research, and this is what I get graphically, really great. Only my business research is for British American Tobacco, BAT. So again, language is difficult, and I need to have a context to see what I meant. And if I don't have that context, what am I going to do? So why did we want to play Jeopardy? You have a quiz that has all domains in the world, has puns, variations of words. So you have categories, and the categories are basically about the topic. The topic could be politics, it could be archaeology, but the topic is a pun by itself. If the category says chicks dig me, sadly, this is not about women that have an interest in me, but this is about female archaeologists. You have to figure that already out before you get the question. Then you get the answer, so you need to figure out what the question is. So we wanted to play against the 2 best playing humans ever and take normal questions, look to the answers in normal language, and answer them quick, accurate. Now, in Belgium, you've had this. A few years ago, you had Baakstuk or Jeopardy on the RTBF that had this quiz show. But for those of you who haven't seen it, why don't we have a look?
But what you'll want to know is how Watson will perform against the world's best Jeopardy contestants.
All right. Enough background. Let's play Jeopardy. Here we go. Our first round of play contains these categories: Literary character APB, all points bulletin. Beatles people, Olympic oddities, name the decade, final frontiers, and alternate meanings. A little while ago, we had a drawing to determine which player would select first. Brad, you won that, so if you're ready, make your first choice.
Let's take alternate meanings for 200, Alex.
Four-letter word for a vantage point or a belief. Brad.
What is a view?
Yes.
Alternate meanings 400.
Four-letter word for the iron fitting on the hoof of a horse or a card-dealing box in a casino. Watson.
What is issue?
You are right. You get to pick.
Literary character, APB, for 800.
Answer the daily.
Ladies and gentlemen, the avatar behind me, meet Watson. A piece of technology that doesn't think like you and me, but goes through the same process. So let's go for a few seconds to the process. The theme of today, introspection. The theme of today is introspection, and then basically the question is, how does Watson get to an answer? How does he answer, or how does it answer a question? Well, the first step is you need to understand language. So above you on the plasma screen, you actually see this line, the first person mentioned, etc. Very simple Jeopardy question, very normal. And for those of you who studied literature, I probably think you already know what I'm talking about. The point is, this technology doesn't have a database. It has all the sources, the National Geographic, all kind of literature books, works of Shakespeare fully collected, 17 versions of the Bible, National Geographic I mentioned, but National Enquirer, gossip magazines as well. And it needs to learn at that moment like a child learns, like what do these words stand for? So I have a book. Books have authors. Books also have characters. Is a character an author? Well, sometimes it is. Is an author a character? Sometimes also is. But are they the same? No, they're not the same. Ah, I learned something. So while I go to this whole process, Watson doesn't stand connected to the internet. Like the two human players in the game, it stands alone. It cannot dial a friend. So while it does that, it goes through this enormous fast amount with 200 million pages a second. And for those of you that are paying attention, at the left upper side of the screen, for you at the right side by the way, you will see a number running. That's the real-time time that Watson needs to answer that question. It's going to be under 3 seconds, by the way. Now, the brain that you and I have, most of us have at least, fits in a shoebox. Watson is around 8 American fridges. And we hope in 3 to 6 years that it actually will fit into your pocket, or the access to this kind of technology fits in your pocket. This 8 American fridges, they run to a fast amount of, do I understand the question? Do I know what the question is about? Now this is really difficult, because if I use the word run, I run for office, I run to catch the train. Have you run this at your lawyer? I suddenly get a different kind of contextual meaning just by the same word. No list with question and answers can solve that. So while I go to this, I need to go to thousands, millions of interpretation of the questions until I'm convinced that I actually understand the question. Brings me to the next step. I understand the question. What sources will I actually start to look for to build a hypothesis? Because now I understand the question, I need to develop a hypothesis where the answer can come from. To know where the answer comes from, I need to look to the sources that I have. If the question, I now think the question is about pop culture, so I look to pop music, I look to television series, I look to teenage things. Or in this case, Watson figured out, hey, this question is actually about literature. It's about a book, it's about characters, an author, and as you can see above me, it actually meant it. Third step, now when I go from this hypothesis, right, when I move from this hypothesis away, can I actually build confidence in the answer? Can I get millions and millions of answers and weigh them, say, okay, I think these are the possible questions, these are the possible hypotheses, these are the possible sources for the answers, and this is where I'm going to get the answer. Now, don't forget one thing. We're also playing a game show, right? We also want to win. Now, I hear some of you think, so what if you don't get the question in a game show? Suppose your doctor would do the same. Suppose your doctor would be able to read 200 million pages a second and actually, based on confidence, tells you, yeah, I'm going to bet on this treatment or this therapy. That certainly becomes a little bit more serious in a game show, right? So, well, Watson is doing this, is surely goes to all the options and say, what are the pros, what are the cons, what have I learned, what are the things that are related? Now, then I find Musketeers, but I find Mickey Mouse. Yeah, he was a free Musketeer as well. I find D'Artagnan, I find Moritz, I find Porthos, I find... So they're all Musketeers, and they all come in free Musketeers, but You know, one comes in one book from Andrade, the other comes in a book from Alexander Dumas. So what am I going to do? How do I know? And then slowly we come to the man in the iron mask. Now, the point here isn't that we find the answer to a question. The point is the process of introspection that it goes through, the same way like you and I. There is no list, there are no question and answer. And why is this so important? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, every day, create 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. Every day. Just to give you a little metaphor, that's more than the last 5,000 years humanity has created in information. So for those of you, years ago, that were still on a clay tablet scratching around, from that moment in time till today. Now, how do we do that? How do we create so much information? Well, every second, 1 hour of YouTube is uploaded. Every second, 1 hour of YouTube is uploaded. 140 million tweets a day are sent. Do not ask me what they're about. I didn't say they were relevant, I said there are a lot. 140 million a day, 1 billion a week. 456 tweets a second was the ultimate record. This is when Michael Jackson died. You know, it was like this, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, Michael Jackson died, oh my God. 5 tweets. I mean, that's what happened, but it's a lot. And then you're that company that figures out what are customers actually saying about my product? What are people actually saying about Michael Jackson who died? And what are people actually saying about TED or TEDxFlanders? And that also means, because we create more data, we start more searching. So there's 100 billion searches performed on Google every month. That's 37 times more than 5 years ago, by the way. So in 5 years' time, we do 37 searches more a month. And I hear someone there think, yeah, I do 100 searches a month, easy myself, you know, 200 even. But what are you looking for? And who answered those questions before there was a Google, or Yahoo, or a Bing? Never thought about it. But we create so much information. It's not information overload we suffer. It's a filter failure. We need assistance in finding the right information that's relevant and accurate and fast for us. So I need assistance. Now, this really becomes relevant because the moment you start Googling or Binging your symptoms for your illness, there's around 12,000 registered diseases in this world. So your doctor needs to go to all the symptoms. Imagine that that doctor had assistance of something that could read 200 million pages a second in your medical files, in your test results, in the words you said to the nurse in your intake, in your forms you filled in your bed notes, the fact that you actually recently changed address and came from a place where Lyme disease is much more occurring than the place where you're now. And suddenly, based on confidence, he has a higher feeling for a conclusion. We're not changing the doctor, we're giving the doctor a knowledge navigator to directly have a second opinion. Now, again, why is this important? Recent study shows that 81% of the medical professionals spend 5 hours or less, 5 hours or less per month reading their medical literature. I spend more time reading the Saturday edition of the New York Times a month. But also medical information is doubling every year, so it's almost impossible for a physician to keep up. This is exactly why we started this technology to cooperate with the medical profession. We could have used and started financials, and we could have used other industries, and we were doing other industries, but there were 2 reasons. One, the medical profession has more unstructured information than any other sector ever. Notes, words, things that aren't in a database or a table. The second, most members of our team are mid-40s, mid-50s. We like this stuff to be available when we push 60. So, after this confession, 1 out of 4 people dies of cancer. Cancer is still the #2 killer in the world. 20% of the diagnosis people get on cancer is not the correct one for the correct form of cancer or the correct treatment. So 1 of 5 individuals has a chance within 6 months to find out they weren't treated right or the conclusion wasn't right. When we take the increasing cost of healthcare and a decreasing amount of doctors and medical professionals because of the post-baby boom, that's really what's happening at the moment. So this is why Memorial Sloan Kettering, WellPoint, and IBM started to work together. Can we do something? Now what I'm going to show you now is real. I have a few screenshots with me. I really tried to kidnap a medical professional from the hospital with me and have a line with Watson, but that was a little bit pushing the envelope. So when you're the doctor, this is what you have on your iPod. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Mrs. Jill Yamamoto. Mrs. Yamamoto is 37 years old. She's born in Osaka, Japan. She's gravely ill. She's never smoked a cigarette in her life, and she has a spot on her lung. Her doctor referred her to the oncologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering. This doctor never met this patient, sees this. He sees a face with the name of the patient. He sees all the information this patient has ever given or her doctor has shared with the hospital, or what she said in her intake, or what was shared in bed notes. What was all that isn't in the standard file is there. He also sees 2 recommended things to check. Now, he's a great professional, he absolutely thinks about it, but he has 15 minutes for this interview and he just spilled coffee on his jeans. He could have forgotten to ask the question, 1, are you having earaches? Because if you're having earaches, there's a chance your brainstem might already be affected by cancer. 2nd, do you have bleedings? So the second that he gets on his screen at that moment, and again, he is talking with Ms. Yamamoto. He's talking with her. So while he gets this on the screen, he's talking with her. He's not talking like the medical physician does, No, he's having eye contact, listening, and the technology runs along. And it shows the most likely, the highest confident test that he should do. But something else happens. Mrs. Yamamoto has preference. I'm a woman. I'm 37 years old. I do not want to lose my hair in treatment. Can we avoid it? So suddenly, after Ms. Yamamoto has done her test, he gets several kinds of treatments based on the patient's preference and the medical relevance and the confidence of a good result. Now, no doctor would accept it. I know there are people that still do what their navigation system says in the car and just go in the parking garage via the stairs. But doctors actually are skeptical, and they should be, because it's your and my life. So the moment he looks, say, Watson, tell me what's the evidence? How did you come to this? What kind of medical results, papers, and research and test results did you take for them? And if I do not want to look this, or do not trust this treatment, what would you tell me? So, in a situation where we have created a digitization of society, we need to humanize technology. We need to make sure that technology is able to speak human language and listen to human language, and us, instead of us speaking like a computer. We need to understand, we need to share, we need to predict, and we need to make sure it changes our world. Now imagine, 3 to 6 years from now, this kind of technology is there when you step into a doctor, or step into a bank, talk with your children, but the most important, when someone you love is ill. How would that change our world? Thank you very much.